Welcome back to the Random and Wonderful podcast. I'm your host, Grace Simmons, your favorite solo travel mindset coach. Each episode, we explore ways to uplift you on your journey to add joy, confidence, and independence into your life. As we wrap up August, I'd like to introduce a new feature called Brave Stories. I've had 4 wonderful guests share their stories of bravery for themselves and others. I hope you enjoy this collection and that it inspires you to take at least one brave step today. Also, share your story. You never know who needs it. If you'd like to be featured on the show, you are welcome to leave a voice message. Thank you again to my guests for kicking this project off. Alrighty, on to these amazing stories.
Earlier this year, I was in a staff training, and many of us were sharing points of view about the training and how it did not pertain to our particular staff because most of us were veteran teachers. Some people were saying that this particular training should only have been for new teachers, where others were saying no one should have to do this training. I had my hand up for a while, and several people spoke out without being called on by my principal. When things had settled a bit, I said, "Is it okay if I add something?" to my principal. He then responded, "Oh, yes, as long as it's something positive." I was shocked to have him say that, as the other staff members in the room who turned to me raised their eyebrows. I said what I wanted to say, and it wasn't anything negative. I went home that night, and his comment continued to bother me. I am in therapy, and I figured this message is something I simply needed to work through. Well, I knew by morning that something had to be done, so I made an appointment with him that very day. I brought up what happened the day before, and he tried to play it off like it was a joke or to say that many times our staff members complain about directives from the district, and there's really nothing we can do about it. I explained that my point was what he said, which was that I could speak as long as I was saying something positive. If someone had been visiting our staff meeting, the impression would be that I'm the negative, unprofessional one, or the angry black woman. However, he allowed 3 other staff members to complain, and they're usually the ones who complain about other things. One member admitted he lets her do whatever she wants. I continued that I'm the most genuine and most positive person on our staff. I'm always encouraging my fellow staff members. I rearrange my schedule when others need help, and there are students who haven't even had me as a teacher, yet who want to have me as a teacher because they believe that I am a fun and positive and optimistic person. He tried to explain again that it was kind of a joke, and I told him that I did not believe it was a joke at all, and it made me look bad as a professional. I truly don't believe anything is going to change about his point of view of me, but I felt so strong and empowered by standing up for myself, rather than just putting it down to, oh, it was a stressful meeting, and I should understand where he was coming from. He apologized, but I believe it was not genuine at all.
So when I think about situations where I've been brave, my mind primarily goes to the work context, particularly for me, being an African-American female working in a predominantly white environment. I noticed myself being kind of hypersensitive to people's perception of me, how I articulate my frustrations or disappointment within that environment, to, again, not come across as the angry black woman, but being able to support myself, right, and understanding that my feelings are valid in different environments, and to kind of figure out where is that balance. So there are a lot of situations within the work environment where I do have to be brave and stand up for myself, and not just myself, but to stand up for other people of color within my work environment that may not have the same authority that I have, and comfort with asserting themselves. So, one situation comes to mind for me where we had a staff meeting within our department, and we were talking about new hires, which were interns for our department. And several of my colleagues voiced their concern about one of the applicants. Their description of this applicant being, abrasive and argumentative and angry. Those terms were thrown out there, and the applicant happened to be a Black female. So it's always awkward in those situations to kind of call out the elephant in the room, but it was something that I felt like was important to do, not just for the discomfort that I felt while those conversations were being had, but to make sure that there was an equal playing field for all of the applicants, and that if I had kept my mouth closed and not said anything, these type of behaviors would likely continue, where very qualified applicants may not have the opportunity to engage in certain employment opportunities because people that look like them did not speak up in a room where conversations about them were being had, and conversations and comments about them were being made that may not necessarily reflect their true nature, but may reflect people's bias and maybe prejudice towards them, and taking into consider stereotypes that may be present. So in that situation, I did have to speak up and call the elephant in the room and highlight that, hey, there is this tendency for, Black women to be perceived as angry, and getting down to what were the specific behaviors that you noticed that she did. And the conversation actually led to, comments about other people of, other ethnicities who had done the same thing, but were not perceived in that manner. So, I was happy that I was able to kind of have that dialogue and speak up, and to kind of minimize my worry about then appearing to my colleagues as another angry Black woman.
So my brave story occurred about 5 years ago. I was working for an organization that I would describe as a very toxic workplace that seemed to have created a culture of fear for leadership. And so there was no psychological safety to challenge leaders. You just kind of did as you were told. And I was in an all-hands meeting with about 40 people. I'm kicking off a huge project, and my director sent me a message, a very important message. I decided to quietly open my laptop and respond to her really quickly and get back to the meeting. And as I was doing so, I was scolded by another leader who told me to shut my laptop in a very harsh tone, as if I was a child. I was taken aback. I did not know how to respond to that, or at least in a professional way. And I just made a decision in that moment. I can go with the status quo, and that is shut my laptop, get back to the meeting as I was told, or I can respond based on how I felt. And I felt very disrespected, and I felt like I didn't want to sit in a meeting with someone who was okay with disrespecting me, who thought it was okay to disrespect me. And so I made a decision I did put my laptop away, but I made a decision to pack that laptop up and pack my things up and leave the meeting. And I actually went home that day. I didn't go back to the office. I went home and I sent my director a message. I told her what happened, how it made me feel, and why I made the decision I made. And I was supported. I was happy that I was supported. And she had a conversation with her peer who later issued an apology. It was not the apology that I wanted, but she did issue an apology. And I think in that moment, I felt really brave for making a decision that was solely about me and about my feelings and my mental health. And so that's my brave moment, and I am sort of taking that with me as I move into other jobs and other organizations, just kind of setting a boundary around my tolerance for respect, or disrespect, I should say. And that is my brave story. Thank you.
This was my moment of bravery. So I was about 15 or 16 years old, living in South Fulton County, Georgia, going to Winley High School. Shout out, you know what I'm talking about. Living on Stonewall Manor. And there was a park nearby that I can't find when I'm looking on the map. I don't remember what it was called. It could be Cliftondale, but I don't remember, right? So somebody had their birthday party in a little rinky-dink clubhouse at the park. And it was super cool, little party. A bunch of people in the area showed up. I was there with my girlfriend at the time, and everybody was just kind of kicking it. Some folks was drinking and stuff. I was 16, so I wasn't really all about that. I was more concerned with other things, you know what I'm saying? So while we were there, though, there was a gang initiation. So we're all dancing at the party, having a great time. And if you look on top of the hill above the park, and if somebody remembers the park, then if it listens, then they'll probably be like, oh, yeah, it's got like an overlook on it. So you look at the top of the hill, there's a bunch of cars that pulled up, right? Out of nowhere, a bunch of dudes ran down the hill, right, into this party. I guess they had a problem with somebody there, with some set issues, but the vibe and what people said later was initiation. So a bunch of young dudes, 17, 18, from around there, Banneker, Tri-Cities, a bunch of other schools, came down there, tooled up, ready to do it. I'm guessing they're supposed to blast on the party. They strode up there, and everybody in the party had to kind of make a decision. Dudes ran in there, started smacking dudes with pistols, and the decision was either you stand up and get obviously smacked down, or you cower in the corner and hope they don't see you. A lot of the guys that were involved stood up, and I was one of those guys. And by standing up, they started to kind of back down. Somebody had managed to call somebody, parents and police, and everybody started showing up gradually. But at first, and this one should probably be pictured, my girlfriend's mom at the time shows up with a tire iron, like, you don't need to do this, and everybody's trying to talk them down, and we're all just kind of standing there, guns in our faces, trying to stand our ground for a second. When I think back on it, absolutely dumb, but I believe that by the people there, including myself, standing in front of those behind us, most of the guys just, having bravado. Some girls too, let me not take it away from them, but all I remember is me and the dudes, because I wasn't looking away from the guns. But guns in our faces, we stood in front of folks, and I'd like to think that in that moment of talking them down and not showing fear, that we might have alleviated people that could have lost their lives that day. So that is my moment of bravery.
I hope this podcast inspires you to recognize that you are never stuck where you are, and to know that you don't have to go through this process alone. Once you feel that nudge internally, you know that something doesn't align, it can be overwhelming because you don't know where to start. If you're ready to stop waiting for permission to make bold decisions that build confidence, add joy, and create ease into your life, sign up for a free discovery call with me today. Let's get started. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I'm Grace Simmons, and this is the Random and Wonderful Podcast. Remember to subscribe so that you are ready for the next episode. Rate the show so that others can find it, and share your favorite episode with a friend. Have a wonderful week. Take care, beautiful people, and I'll talk to you soon.